Chapter 2, Social Research. The first section is non-scientific sources of knowledge, and the first key term we need to know is motivational reasoning. We tend to reject information that goes against prior knowledge and past beliefs, and this is a vice versa reaction. Hashtag closed-mindedness. Our second key term we need to know is common sense. Common sense is based off a person's past knowledge and past traditions. Also, it's a widely held opinion within cultures and within society. So each society and each culture will have different senses of common sense, if you understand what I mean. Authority. Someone who has special knowledge over something that we tend to trust them because of it. For say, like a doctor. We trust a doctor because they have years and years of practice and schooling that we trust them for our medical needs. Tradition is kept within family structures that is passed down to the child and that they grow into that person with that information and that knowledge. Intuition is quick and rapid insight that is based off radical thoughts that happen in a split of a second. Is science as a source of knowledge. Objectivity. Scientists can prevent their personal bias to affect their work. Hashtag remember Marx Weber and a value-free research. Now, we can't really remove bias from someone's results and data completely. However, we can reduce it by taking into consideration their bias and removing it from the process. Also, having other scientists perform the experiment and see the results with different biases and see what happens and then gain a true understanding. And that's where we have the scientific method, which we'll go into a bit later, to be able to duplicate people's experiments to get a true representation of the results. Verifiability just means that the study can be repeated by another scientist. The next section is a model of doing research, and that includes the scientific method. In sociology, they're a wee bit different, so here we go. We have identify the problem, review the literature, which is do your research, formulate a hypothesis, develop a research design, collect the data, and start finding a conclusion. You have to make sure your procedures are very detailed, so that way you have other scientists who can duplicate your data and see if it's more reliable and more credible. Population. A population is a huge group of people, and a sample is a small section of that group of people. So for, say, college students, I want to know everything about college students, but I can't go to every single one of them, so I'll just get a small amount of them from a small university, and that's my sample. The sample is that small group of college students, while population is every college student. On to the next section, the nature of causation. Now, causation is events that happen in predictable, non-random orders that can affect and lead to different types of events, and they can all be predicted. Multiple causation are events that happen because of smaller events that combine together to make one larger event. Let's move on to variables. We know what variables are from past elementary school, so I'm not going to explain it, but quantitative variables are numerical values, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Quantitative variables consist of variations other than numbers. We know what the independent variable are, we know what the dependent variable is. The intervening variable influences the relationship between the independent variable and the dependent variable. A positive correlation is when both the independent and dependent variable is effective in a positive way, which means in the same direction. So always think in psychology, positive as the same direction. Negative correlation is when the variables change in a different manner. So think negative as a different way and positive in the same way. A spurious correlation is an apparent relationship between the two variables that produce a third variable that can affect the original variable. However, the independent variable must change so the dependent variable can change. Other key terms: an experiment group, a control group. Matching, when participants in an experiment are matched together for different factors, while randomization is when they're matched together for random reasons. Survey research. Stratified random sample divides group based off their sex, race, or age. Closed-ended questions are questions with a limited amount of answer, like multiple choice. They tend to force answers sometimes because you can choose the worst out of the best. Open-ended questions are like free response questions. The participant has the ability to write freely of what he thinks is the answer. A case study is a single group that we study more in-depthly. Field research is when they investigate aspects of social life. Ethnography attempts to detail and accurately describe different groups and their social lives. Participation observation is when researchers become a member of the group they are studying to get a more hands-on approach. Participation observation and case studies really help us understand in-depthly what these social groups are like and these groups are like, instead of having a general, broad explanation of what they are and who they are as people. Well, that's it for Chapter 2, Social Research, and I can't wait to see you next video.